Hey, what's going on everybody? Diptesh here, back again with another video. In this one, I'm gonna share my in-depth gaming performance review of the OnePlus 15. Previously, I've covered the rest of the aspects like camera performance, thermal throttling behavior, and overall device review, so check them out if you haven't already. Also, consider supporting the independent content on this channel by hitting that subscribe button and hyping this video. I have also ordered the iQOO 15 for comparison guys, so if you want to go one step further then consider donating any amount to the virtual payment address given in the description. Alright, with that said, let's start the video. Alright, let's not waste any time and start with Wuthering Waves at maximum graphics using the Vulkan API. We are not going to test any kind of frame generation in this video, everything will be about native performance. Also, please excuse me for my horrible gameplay. I don't play these games. Someone kindly lends their account to me for testing purposes. So I tested the game for just over 30 minutes. And in summary, for Wuthering Waves, the gameplay is rock solid 60 FPS until the phone hits around 46-degree battery temperature. And just as the phone hits 46 degrees centigrade, the system caps the frame rate to 45 FPS and tries to recover. And it does recover after about 3 minutes or so and goes back to 60 FPS. And it will basically continue this pattern on and on. Looking at the metrics captured by Scene, the OnePlus 15 hit a maximum of 46 degrees centigrade and maintained an average of 57 FPS, which includes around 4 minutes of throttle gameplay at 45 FPS. Power sustained was 7 watts, which is on the higher side. But performance was rock solid. This is quite good performance with a reasonable throttling behavior in my opinion. Next up is Genshin Impact, and I played this game for around 20 minutes. Once again, maximum settings Vulkan API, and to be honest guys, Genshin Impact is no longer a challenge for the 8 Elite class of SoCs. Both due to better game optimization and major CPU performance gains at the chip level. In summary, we only hit a maximum of 36 degrees centigrade after 20 minutes and power usage was very low at just under 4 watts. HoYoverse needs to unlock native 120 FPS in Genshin Impact for Android now. Alright, next up is the SoC killer, Grid Legends. This game is capped to 30 FPS by default in the graphics priority mode to prevent burning your fingers I guess, but I went ahead anyways and modified the config to test 3 different frame rates. 40 FPS, 50 FPS, 60 FPS and actually uncapped at least 120 FPS with a cooler. So the challenge is, can the phone sustain 5 laps in this incredibly demanding afternoon race condition? Well, let's see. Keep an eye on the power pushed by the OnePlus 15. Insane it is. OnePlus has definitely made a gaming phone here, just like Redmagic. So at 40 FPS, it's just a piece of cake for the OnePlus 15. This shows that this cutting edge game is actually quite optimized. It's capped to 30 FPS by default, but even at 40 FPS cap, which is a great compromise between power and gameplay experience on a 120Hz display, the power usage is much lower at around 5.5 to 6 watts, and the OnePlus 15 is able to handle this easily. At 50 FPS cap, it seems like the limit of passive cooling. The performance is rock solid, but we are just on the edge of thermal throttling. In the case of 60 FPS gameplay, just before 7 minutes, the system caps the frame rate to 50 FPS. I'm not sure why 50 FPS, because in Wuthering Waves it was 45 FPS. Seems like some games receive special treatment or something. It maintains this 50 FPS cap quite well until almost 12 minutes. That is, in the middle of the 5th lap, the game crashes. Looking at the stats, at the 40 FPS cap, we are basically locked to 40 FPS and under 6 watts of power, just a piece of cake for the OnePlus 15. At 50 FPS cap, we are pushing the limits. We maintained a rock solid 50 FPS and sustained a very high 9.21 watt and ended with a maximum temperature of just under 45 degrees centigrade. 60 FPS cap without a cooler is clearly too much for the device, as the device sustained a crazy 10.3 watts for nearly 12 minutes, which is technically very impressive. But I would like OnePlus to be a little more intelligent here. Yes, it capped the FPS to 50 FPS, but when even that was not enough, it should have automatically dropped the FPS cap further down to 45 or 40 or 30 FPS to try and recover instead of crashing the app altogether. This is one aspect OnePlus can improve. However, because of this uncompromised performance-oriented nature of the OnePlus 15, we get a lot of breathing room which we can benefit of when we introduce a cooler. And with the cooler, we averaged nearly 57 FPS with a whopping average power draw of almost 12 watt. Maximum temperatures just 35.5 degrees centigrade, which is nothing. Next, let's move to another AAA port, that is Hitman Absolution. I feel this game on Android needs some more updates, as I often encounter some choke points in the gameplay when we are neither CPU or GPU bottlenecked, but the FPS stays in the mid 40s. I tested 60 FPS cap without a cooler for 20 minutes and 120 FPS cap with a cooler for 15 minutes. Yes, this game offers a VSync cap, guys. That is, it can cap the FPS to the refresh rate of your display, which is 120Hz in this case. At around 9 minutes into the gameplay at 60 FPS without a cooler, the system capped the FPS to 50 FPS, just like in Grid Legends. After around 6 minutes or so, the device recovered again and hit the 60 FPS cap. Finally, looking at the stats, at 60 FPS cap, we averaged 55 FPS with 8.28 watts of power and stayed just under 46 degrees centigrade. At 120 FPS cap, we averaged 75 FPS with an average power draw of a whopping 11.56 watts. Crazy. Finally, I wanted to test a little bit of emulation. I'm going to make a dedicated AAA game emulation video on the 888 Gen 5. It is still very early for this chip, so things will improve. What I wanted to test here is, does the OnePlus 15 cap the power draw in an emulator? You see, there are devices where unless they detect a whitelisted app like Antutu, they won't unlock the full power. This is quite prominent with iQOO. I have ordered the iQOO 15 as well, so I'll test and see if it's still the same as iQOO 13. So in such cases, you need to install the emulator as an Antutu package to trick the system to bypass the low power limit. But in this case, I haven't done so. I have made 0 modifications, and thankfully, the OnePlus 15 is not holding back any power. And you can see when I uncap the frame rate, it's still pushing 13 to 15 watts in this unmodified emulator. This is really great to see and reduces the hassle of modifying app packages and all to bypass unwanted limitations. Alright guys, overall the OnePlus 15 is basically a true gaming phone in disguise. I wish there was a way to force 165Hz in any game. Surely there will be mods in the future. to unlock this. And overall, gaming experience is very good. Basically, we are not wasting any power. The device is pushing the SoC to its limits as much as possible within the thermal capacity of the phone. Due to this power curve, gaming with a cooler is a joy on the OnePlus 15. So that's it for this video, guys. Let me know your thoughts down below. I will be comparing this performance with the iQOO 15 to see which is the ultimate 8 Elite Gen 5 device in India. So make sure to subscribe for that, continue hyping this video and donating to the payment address given in the description. Take care and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.